In the heart of the Middle East sits a country with a name synonymous with tragedy, Syria. The modern world knows it as the battleground of a brutal civil war, a proxy struggle between global powers and the birthplace of some of the most horrific chemical attacks in recent history. But beyond the headlines lies a deeper story, the story of a country trapped by its own geography. It's me and this is my channel. Join me as we look at how the geography of Syria created a society that was torn apart by conflict. First, let's look at the geography that shaped Syria's fate. Syria depends heavily on a single river, the Euphrates. But this river originates in Turkey, not Syria. That means Syria is at the mercy of its northern neighbor for water. Turkey has built massive dams upstream, which gives it the power to control the flow of water into Syria. This creates not only agricultural pressure inside Syria but also political tension between the two nations. To the south, Syria borders Jordan and Israel, two countries that have their own political tensions and security barriers. The Golan Heights, a strategic plateau, has been a point of fierce conflict between Syria and Israel since 1967. Israel captured it during the Six-Day War and still controls it. This loss was a national humiliation for Syria and became a symbol of Arab resistance, making peace even harder to achieve. The constant military focus on these borders has drained Syria's economy and locked it in a state of permanent alert. To the east, Syria shares a massive border with Iraq. This could have been a strength, a link between the Levant and Mesopotamia. But Iraq has suffered decades of war, sanctions, and sectarian conflict. Instead of trade and cooperation, the Iraq border became a gateway for terrorists, weapons, and instability, especially after the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Then there's the vast Syrian desert in the southeast. It forms nearly half the country but is inhospitable and mostly uninhabited. This desert cuts off the urban, developed western part of Syria from the tribal and underdeveloped east. This has led to a massive imbalance in development, opportunity, and identity. Many eastern Syrians have felt neglected and alienated from the central government in Damascus, sowing the seeds of rebellion. In essence, Syria is sandwiched between hostile or unreliable neighbors, cut off from vital resources and held hostage to the whims of external powers. Its own internal divisions run deep, too. Add to this the ethnic diversity of Syria, Arabs, Kurds, Turkmen, Druze, Assyrians, and the religious divisions among Sunnis, Alawites, Shias, and Christians, and you get a society that is highly fragmented. Now, you might be thinking, is he serious? How does geography impact politics? Well, let me tell you, it impacts it massively. You see, Syria is located in the Fertile Crescent, one of the oldest inhabited regions on Earth. For millennia, it was a crossroads of civilizations, cultures, and empires. The land was fertile and the weather was pleasant, perfect for raising crops and building cities. But as time went on, this very bounty became a curse. As Syria developed, it attracted outsiders. Conquerors from Egypt, Greece, Rome, and Islam all left their mark on the land. And while they brought new ideas and technologies, they also brought new conflicts and divisions that never truly healed. Imagine living in a place where your neighbors change so often that you end up with a patchwork quilt of cultures, religions, and languages. Each group wants to preserve its own identity and way of life, which makes compromise and unity nearly impossible. Then came the rise of the nation-state, a modern invention that drew arbitrary borders across the ancient homeland of the Syrian people. This artificial country included diverse groups who had little in common, all under one roof. The ruling elite tried to impose a single identity, but this led to simmering resentments and rebellions, especially in the northeast and along the Iraq border where Kurds and other minorities chafed under the dominance of the central government. And don't forget the water. The Euphrates River, a lifeline for the nation, originates in Turkey, giving Ankara the upper hand in any water-sharing deal. If Turkey restricts the flow, Syria could face drought and famine, leading to unrest and instability. But perhaps the greatest geopolitical challenge for Syria is its neighbor to the south, Israel. The 1967 Six-Day War saw Israel seize the Golan Heights, a move that deprived Syria of 22% of its territory and humiliated the nation. Ever since, the Israeli occupation has been a rallying cry for the Syrian people, uniting them across sect and ethnicity. It's a wound that refuses to heal, leading to constant military mobilization on the border and fear of a larger conflict. Just imagine waking up every day knowing that your neighbor could start a war that could engulf the entire region. That kind of tension doesn't help anyone. So, you can see that Syria is not just a victim of bad luck or Western conspiracies. Its geographic location has played a significant role in shaping its turbulent history. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Why hasn't Syria learned to live with all these challenges? Well, let me explain. Despite its turbulent history, Syria did manage to find moments of stability and growth. During the French colonial period, the country benefited from investments in infrastructure and education. After independence, leaders like Hafez al-Assad kept a tight grip on power, suppressing dissent but also maintaining order. However, these periods of calm were more like pauses in a storm rather than lasting peace. For example, Assad's rule was marked by a crackdown on opposition, especially in the early years. He firmly established the Assad dynasty and ruled with an iron fist, leaving many Syrians disillusioned and marginalized. This created a breeding ground for discontent that would later explode into the Syrian civil war. Additionally, the heavy-handed tactics of the Syrian government made it difficult for the country to address its underlying issues. Instead of working towards compromise and coexistence, leaders often resorted to force to maintain control. This cycle of repression and reaction has been a hallmark of Syrian history. You see, in such a volatile region, compromises can seem like weakness. Every leader is focused on surviving and staying in power, not on long-term planning or coexistence. It's a constant struggle for dominance. Take the Syrian-Israeli conflict over the Golan Heights, for instance. Since 1967, Syria has seen the Israeli occupation of the Golan as an existential threat. Successive Syrian governments have poured resources into the military, arming and training forces to reclaim the lost territory. This military focus has diverted funds from crucial sectors like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. And with external players like Russia, Iran, and Turkey supporting different factions in the conflict, a lasting solution seems even more distant. The situation is further complicated by the presence of various armed groups within Syria, each with their own agendas. From the Alawite and Druze militias to rebel forces and jihadist groups, the country has become a battleground for a multitude of interests. These groups, often aligned along sectarian lines, make compromise and nation-building almost impossible. They engage in cycles of violence, revenge, and retaliation, deepening the divisions within Syrian society. Finally, let's talk about the role of outside forces. From the Ottoman Empire to British and French colonialism, foreign powers have always had a finger in the Syrian pie. Today, regional rivals like Saudi Arabia and Iran are backing opposing sides in the conflict. This external meddling has only made things worse, turning Syria into a proxy battleground for larger regional rivalries. So, in a nutshell, Syria is stuck between hostile neighbors, burdened by historical grievances, torn by internal divisions and influenced by external powers. The result is a country that has yet to fulfill its potential. Now, I know all this might sound like a downer ending, but there's always hope for the future. Countries with similar challenges like Lebanon and Bosnia have managed to find paths to peace and stability. It requires courage, compromise, and a willingness to look beyond differences. Syria's story isn't just one of tragedy, it's also a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure even in the harshest conditions. The Syrian people have shown incredible resilience in the face of war, displacement, and economic hardship. They've clung to their traditions, values, and hopes for a better future. That's all for today. I hope you found this video informative and engaging. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insightful content. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious.